Thank you. I'm honored to be here. We made a film, and we're here to show a small clip. So just to give you a little background, 7 years ago, I had the opportunity to visit Byrne County. It's a rural community in eastern North Carolina. I was introduced to Miss Vivian Saunders, who you'll meet here in a little bit. And she was running a unique program, an alternative school for young African-American boys. Boys that had been kicked out of school, were struggling with the regular school system, had been in and out of the criminal justice system. These were kids that had been pushed to the side and were invisible in their community. And she was bringing them back into the educational system. I was inspired by these young men, and I was inspired by Vivian's commitment to never give up. I knew that this was a story that needed to be told. So for 6 years, we followed the lives of these 3 young men. We watched them grow up, struggle, and overcome great odds. And I can say, as an outsider, what I knew needed to happen was we had to spend time there. I live in the city. I hadn't spent much time in rural communities. And I think it really opened my eyes to see what these young men were going through. I myself am a single mother. They were all raised by single mothers. So I think we related to each other, and my daughter was often with us on shoots, and we really spent time there. The most important thing to me is that we were able to tell an authentic story that really honored their lives. These young men, our rural youth, have been absent from our national dialogue. We need to support our rural youth. They need to know that we see them, and they need to know that they matter.
Yes, thank you everyone for sticking around in the afternoon. We were incredibly honored to be amongst some really amazing company that you've seen today and heard from. So 1 in 4 American students attend school in a rural community. 85% of our persistent poverty counties are in rural areas. And for minorities living in rural communities, these issues are compounded by racial injustice and a history of disenfranchisement, where complicated issues of geographic isolation and a lack of broadband combine and layer like kudzu with issues of mass incarceration to make even greater and more complex challenges. The outcome is that rural minorities face a poverty rate that is 3 times that of rural whites. But fortunately, there are resources in rural communities that we can draw from. Rural communities provide most of our food, our drinking water, our energy. They are full of communities and people that have strong faith values, close family ties, resilience. And we know that there are answers, some of which we've been discussing today. In the film, we see examples of community-led solutions, and you'll hear from the incredible Miss Vivian Saunders here in a moment, who really, I think, embodies some of the good work that we've been talking about today. And in screenings, we've witnessed the powerful emotional connections that the film inspires, that create the empathy and the space needed to have really complicated and deep conversations. But conversations are not enough. We want those conversations to move to action. And we want to help advance collaborative, evidence-based solutions that help young people in rural communities succeed. But we cannot do this alone. We need thought leaders and supporters to help us tell this story to a broader audience, to take advantage of this enormous opportunity, and I believe a moral obligation to ensure that the nation we make engages and supports with a segment of our nation's youth that, while largely invisible, is full of promise. We want your help to bring this story to local and federal lawmakers, policy experts, nonprofits, rural communities that are grappling with similar issues ahead of a national broadcast. And we can't do this without you. So we're going to show this quick clip, and then we want to connect with you afterwards in the coming months. You can connect with us at raisingbertie.com. There's also a postcard in your canvas bag. Again, thank you so much for the opportunity to speak, and we appreciate your time.